Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the newest chess tour that's kicking off as of today, June 5th, 2021. It's the Grand Chess Tour. A lot of you are new fans to our game, sport, whatever you want to call it, over the last 6 to 8 months. And we've had this tour for quite some time. It's a mix of classical, rapid, and blitz, live over-the-board chess. Now, the problem with this event is that there's no Magnus, there's no Nepo, because they're playing for the World Championship, and generally, when you're playing for the World Championship, you don't participate in events like this. I would love it if they did, and frankly, I think that it would be really cool for spectators. And no Hikaru. Some other big names are missing, but we got Anish, we got Fabiano Caruana, Grischuk MVL, Levon Aronian, and we have some local players because it's being held in Bucharest, Romania. So every day we're going to have 5 games. I'm going to take you through the games of the day, ideally all 5, unless some of them are just terribly boring, and then after that I will tell you the standings. Now, this is classical chess, so just a fair warning, we're going to have a lot of draws, but listen, the title of the video, One Man Provides the Content, the thumbnail is there for a reason. Timestamps in the video player, let's go. First game. And for a lot of these guys, by the way, this is their first over-the-board classical tournament in a long time, a year and a half. So Teimour begins with the standard. We have a Queen's Gambit declined, transposition with Knight F3, Knight C3, and Bishop B4, the Rogozin defense. Again, for anybody who's been watching any of my recaps, they play this all the time. Bishop G5, H6, and a trade, E3, castles, Rook C1. So Teimour reinforces the knight with the rook. He's ready to develop the bishop. And in a moment, we are going to see what's going to happen in the center with these pawns. Just disregard my rogue arrow. Takes, C5. Okay, looks like that's what's going to happen. This is Fabiano trying to fight for the center like this, opening up his queen. Castle, CD4, and now a big decision by white. What do you take back with? Queen, pawn, knight. Some are better than others. Probably queen takes is the worst. It's the one with the least prospects. But even here, you can try to transfer your knight over to the queen side and maybe trap the rook. It's not going to happen. Instead, he plays knight d4 and we have bishop d7. Again, a position with a lot of possibilities. White can play the move a3, knight to e4, attacking the queen. White can also play queen b3, which attacks the bishop and lines up the b7 pawn. And actually, that's what Teimour does. And here, Fabiano plays knight c6. And to the untrained eye, it looks like if you just take this and then take this, you're winning a piece. And to the untrained eye, that is correct. You're actually completely right. However, knight c6, I have a Zwischenzug, in-between move. I can take your knight first. And this is actually a well-known theoretical draw. And so after rook c3, bishop c6, the players just repeated moves. First classical tournament for Teimour Radjabov in particular in a year and a half. For Fabiano Caruana, not in a year and a half. Fabiano played in the Norway chess, the live over-the-board last November, I believe. Well, at least we can get the first game out of the way. Maybe they're jet-lagged. I don't know. Maybe they're just trying to get their bearings. So we go to our second game. So here we have one of the local players, Constantin Lupulescu. He's one of the Romanian grandmasters, if I'm not mistaken, unless he's moved federations, like, you know, he lives somewhere else now. Here now we have a Nimso Indian. So in the other position we saw d5, knight f3. And in this game we have a Nimso Indian. White has a lot of ways to play this, choosing one of the main lines, which is queen to c2. And now Levon has a choice of moves, and Levon plays c5. And the point of c5 is that if you take, I'm actually not even going to take yet with a bishop. I'm going to play knight. I'm going to play castles, and then I'm going to play knight a6. And I'm actually going to just leave this bishop here. Now white can attack the bishop and force it to do something. But actually, it's pretty well known that positions like this are good for black. Why? Well, I mean, you say, well, white has the 2 bishops. Gotham, in the other video, you said 2 bishops were good. Yeah. Yes. But b4, bishop b2. Can you hear those sirens? I feel like this is the first time I've made a recap and a siren was that loud. It's like an ambulance drove into my backyard or something. Anyway, we have g3, knight c5, bishop g... Oh, by the way, I can hear them. If you couldn't hear them, I promise I'm not, like, losing my mind. Not yet. Knight e4, and this is trying to utilize this pin. We have takes, bishop e7, and e4. And essentially, the position from the opening is quite interesting. White's pawn structure is absolutely atrocious. This is just awful. This is terrible structure. If black can get a rook to c8, just gobble, gobble. But white has something that black doesn't have. Space. Black has no space. These bishops are not ever getting out. This knight can't really do much. And white here plays this move e5 to trade and just utilize a pawn trade to open up the position even further. Now again, optically it looks like white has some advantage. The structure is terrible, but that's offset by the fact that you have a lot of open lines. But black is Levon Aronian, and also, you know, that's problem number one. And like if it was Magnus Carlsen with the white pieces, it might be a different story. The second problem is that, yeah, see what black is doing? Black is just going to start making trades. So we begin with a knight trade. So we've traded, and now I'm going to trade some more pieces. And the thing is, your space advantage means a lot less once a lot of pieces come off the board. Because there's going to be positions I can even sacrifice this pawn. Like, what I mean by that is, I mean, just for example, like something like this, giving up b7, this is not even the worst thing in the world. Completely unnecessary, but you put the other rook on c8, I mean, where are these pawns going? Is it really a pawn advantage? Not quite. Which is exactly why, you know, in this position, we have queen c4, we have take, and just h6. I mean, Levon basically says, like, look, man, you can take all my pawns. I'm good because I'm gonna get enough counterplay. And I think you guys know where this is headed. White has a passed a pawn, so white has this outside pawn when there's 7 pawns on this side of the board. There are some chances for white to win this game, but not if they just decide to repeat moves. So, draw number 2, which takes us to game number 3. Hey, listen, don't go anywhere. Like, you're more than welcome to jump ahead to the final game. I hope not all of my recaps have to be like this. Plus, you don't know what jokes you're gonna miss. I might tell some really hilarious joke in the middle of this game, and you won't get to hear it. Okay, so let's not jump around. All right, you also don't know when the next advertisement's gonna hit, so, you know, a little bit of mid-roll revenue for Gotham. But, so, d4, knight f6. MVL is with the black pieces, so we're obviously going to get this opening, which is the Grunfeld defense. We have takes, e4, knight c3, bc3. This is a main line. This is a main of the main line positions, and now rook b1 is also. I don't know how popular rook b1 is, like on the hierarchy. Bishop e3 is also a move here. Rook b1 and bishop e2 takes, and here we have a Grunfeld where white sacrifices a pawn on a2. And essentially is like, yo man, I got these two big center pawns. Your pawns on B and A are really not going anywhere anytime soon. And I will advance down the middle. I'm going to try to utilize your terrible queen positioning. First of all, I might try to trap your queen, but you're MVL, so I probably won't be able to trap your queen. MVL just gives up b7. So MVL, you know, we get bishop g4, rook b7, bishop f3, bishop d4, and e5, knight a6. If you guys have seen my video on Garry Kasparov versus Vladimir Kramnik, when Kramnik defeated Kasparov in the 2000 World Championships, spoiler, this line actually, it's either exactly the same or very similar, where basically Kramnik took the pawn on b7 and Kasparov was defending this position. Like, he ended up defending an opposite colored bishop endgame. So we got to a position on move 18 where everything has exploded. Again, for a beginner's eye, this is like really scary. Like, this rook is very, very scary. But also, if I flip the board, it can also be equally scary for black. I mean, or for white, I should say. Black also has some attack. This bishop can move. The bishop is pinned to the queen. It's actually interesting. I would not be surprised if the players knew all of this theory. So, like, you sacrifice, you know, you give away your bishop, but now you take the knight, you go back, and everything gets traded. And, the bishop and the queen coordinate for black, opposite colored bishops, queen trade, and a rook trade is coming, a rook trade is coming, a rook trade is coming, a rook trade happened, and all the pieces got traded off the board. So we have bishop f4, which is trying to get him to take the bishop and force the draw. And these are actual moves. Like, the players actually were not taking each other's pieces and then decided to just get king versus king. Okay, 3 draws out of the way. Fantastic. Shahriar Mamedyarov versus Wesley So was a Queen's Gambit accepted, so something slightly more surprising. But against e3, there are other lines. Wesley plays the professional variation with e6, a6, and c5. And now we have a queenless game with symmetrical structure. This one was a little bit more exciting than the other draws that we saw. But it was still a very, very solid fight for a very long time. Shach played this interesting idea, knight a3, knight c4, to try to maybe trap this bishop amongst the pieces, maybe advance. The thing is, in positions like this, you need to utilize the imbalances that you have, right? And right now, white has the imbalance of more space, active rook, maybe b7 weakness, bishop kind of dumb here, try to play f3, e4, you'll hang your king if you do that, but I'm saying maybe you trade and then do that. But yeah, this was a very kind of solid game for a very long time, and Shock planted this knight on a5, and Wesley just defended as best as he could. To be honest, this game was 46 moves, but I cannot say that a tremendous amount of things happened. They traded all their pieces, and then again, if the super GMs are watching my recaps, they're probably like, oh, he's missing all these little subtleties. Yeah, but listen, the last like 20 moves of this game, not much happened, and now they repeat moves. Okay, so now that I've sat you through about 10 minutes of torture, hopefully we get a little bit more action in the coming days, or else, I mean, I can't just sit here and let time go by to stick more ads on my videos. I'm gonna be honest, like, I want to show exciting chess. None of those 4 games were that, I mean, actually, frankly, none of those games were exciting. None of them. Like, they were either super, super long-winded theoretically, quick repetitions in the opening, or, well, this game. So, Anish Giri, one of the highest rated players in the world and in this tournament, is playing against Bogdan Diak. And Bogdan is a very strong junior player. He's 20 or 21 or maybe 22 years old. Shout out to my Romanians. Local hero. And he's one of the best juniors. Did I just say that? I was going to say he's one of the highest rated juniors, but I wanted to say best, but I fused what I wanted to say together. He's like top 5, I think, in like the under 21 category. Rapidly growing rating. But Anish Giri's with the black pieces, right? So you would think that the guy that has this reputation of making draws and whatever, we need to stop that. I'm here to tell you right here, right now, we need to move on. That's the secret to humor. You have a little period of time. Anish Giri is above that meme. And by the way, if you don't even know where that meme came from, Anish Giri once drew all his games in the candidates tournament. That's where that meme came from. He drew all of his games in the candidates tournament. All 13 games or whatever, however, yeah. And that's where this meme was born, how many games are in the candidates tournament? 15 rounds? 14 rounds? Doesn't matter. He doesn't do that anymore. Anish Giri plays the Slav defense, and if Diak wanted to make a draw, he might try to play the symmetrical Slav. But we have a semi-Slav, okay? One of the most complex openings that exists in the chess world. And basically, black will take on c4, hang on for dear life to this pawn, and white will take the full center. And that's exactly what we have. We have a position early on. Black took on c4, played c6, b5, h6, g5. White has the full center. We'll rely on moves like h4, maybe bishop e2, maybe e5, maybe d5, etc., etc., etc. Bishop e2, bishop b7, queen c2. The point of queen c2 is to reinforce your center and make sure that b4, which will attack your knight, doesn't dislodge the defense of the center. Also, you want to play rook to d1. It's not the theoretically most common move, but it is a very standard idea. And here, black can do a couple of things. So first of all, black can play knight d7, which is like kind of like where else is your knight going to go? Black can play knight h5, which is not that popular, and Anish plays it. It's a very confrontational move. It breaks the principles of traditional development. It moves a piece for the second time in the opening. And it wants to take on g3. And after rook d1, there is a move here for black, knight d7. Anish pointed this out in his interview afterward as well, where after d5, there's like 20 forced moves and the game ends in a draw. I don't even remember exactly how it goes. Like, you like take on d5, take on d5. I think black can take here, or maybe take, and then take here, and then like take here, or play, actually maybe taking here is bad, like bishop g7, I don't know. But basically, there's a massive forced sequence of moves that ends in a draw. And Anish was like, why would I do that? No one else wants to play chess today. He said that, not me. All right, I'm not insulting these dudes. This guy was looking at this like, why did we all come to Romania? All of us had to get like 20 COVID tests to come here. Why are we making these quick draws? I'm going to play knight to a6, all right? You waited like 14 minutes in this recap to get exciting chess. You're about to get exciting chess. Black has broken all opening principles, surrendered the full control of the center, weakened the king on both flanks. The king will probably not get castled, and if it does, it's going to have to be under very specific circumstances. Knight a6 is trying to play knight b4. So, you would think that white's most natural move is what? Queen a4? No. That would be guess the elo. Knight to b4 is prevented with a3. And shockingly, a3 has only ever been played once, according to my database, and it was played by a person with a rating of 1200. So Bogdan has double and a half of that rating about. So clearly he was not inspired by that game. I would imagine that he just made this up over the board. The best move, according to theory, is b3. Just basically allowing the knight to come to b4. You're not really worried because you're going to get rid of these pawns. You're going to chip away like this, and then you're going to maybe fight with d5. Maybe you'll get... Whatever. Interesting position. But okay, a3, and now we have a brand new position. e5 is a nice idea to utilize the e4 square to get into d6. That looks absolutely beautiful. It looks so beautiful that Anish castles and sacrifices his rook for the knight. Now, this sometimes happens. Like, when you have a really annoying knight, sometimes it's just better to just get rid of it like this. And the count of material is Anish has bishop and 2 pawns for a rook. That's 3 + 1 + 1 is 5, and 5 = 5, sometimes. So right now, Bogdan plays short castles. What the hell is going on in this position? Kings are on opposite sides, right? So you would think g4, h5 for black. You would think b3, a4, maybe d5 for white. Also, black can play the maneuvering game. Knight to c7, bring the knight to the middle, then advance like this. That's probably the right way to go. But Anish Giri is like, you know, send me location. He says, send me location. Okay, g4. And he attacks the knight. Now, g4 is a very, very risky move for black. It's a very risky move because knight e5. And the truth is that if the position opens up like this and Anish wins another pawn, this is super dangerous because Anish at the end of the day is, for the moment, playing without 2 pieces. For the moment. So if he's going to trade one of his only active pieces and play like this, it's very risky. The only way to activate these pieces will be to destabilize the structure. So, very risky decision. Bishop takes g4, played by Bogdan, which he doesn't even have to play. He can line up an attack on the queen. And now Anish plays this move h5. This was obviously his idea. He wants to maybe go h4. He gets his queen out of the way. Bishop f3. And now there is h4, and there is the move knight to c5, just transferring the knight inward, maybe to d3, maybe to b3, maybe to a4, and just off the board to another dimension. We'll see. Again, the problem is still this bishop. This bishop on f3 is much better than the bishop on b7. And Anish plays h4, which is, again, a very risky move. It's a very risky move for the following reason. White doesn't need to do anything about this. See, Anish said in his interview afterward that he was, you know, having some illusions of grandeur. He was like, I'm going to open up the king. Somehow my queen will teleport to that square. It will be check. My rook is going to come down. It's going to be bad news for white. The problem is, you have no time to do that. If you play the move queen to g5, trying to go queen c5, I'm going to go here. And the best that you're going to get is a queen trade, and it's really not clear who's trying to play this position for a win. Maybe it's black. I mean, maybe it's both of the players. I don't know, but it's very risky. Because again, 2 rooks in an endgame, they're endgame pieces. Now they're going to flourish. So instead, Anish goes back to g7. Okay, he goes back to g7. And we have queen to d3. And we have knight to c7. We have queen d6. And this is a problem. This is a very big problem. Right now, the pawn on c6 is hanging. If that pawn were to fall, the king has no line left of defense. It's just an innocent horse. And that horse will die, sadly. Casualty of war. So Anish plays c5, which is just a wild boy type of move. He welcomes this capture. He welcomes queen d7. There's a lot of threats. And really, what else can you do? I mean, you can go for a queen trade. But if you go for a queen trade, I don't even have to trade queens with you. I can just hang around on e5 and maintain my pressure. But even if I were to take on c6, for example, after this, again, it's only white who can win this game. I have 2 rooks. You have rook and horse. You have 4 pawns, but I have 3. Okay, I'm down a pawn, but I have 2 rocks at the end of the day. So, c5. And here, you are more than welcome to pause and try to find the win for white, because it's one of the most gruesome and nasty things I've ever seen in my life. And every grandmaster I was watching do commentary on this game was like, oh my god, this is crazy, do they see it? And it turned out that neither Bogdan nor Anish saw the win. They saw the first move, but it's very often the first move that's not the beautiful move. In this position, you can bring this rook to the party by going to e5, okay? And you want to take and you want to give mate. That sounds like an absolutely beautiful plan. By the way, bishop takes f3 prevents that That doesn't prevent that at all. You can take a knight and a rook, and then you get checkmated. Congratulations. Welcome to Guess the Elo. So rook e5, you would think the only way to defend this is to play this move, because the queen no longer guards the pawn. Now rook c5, which is still good, by the way, is met with queen takes queen. However, in this position, there is an absolutely beautiful move. It has nothing to do with this. You go the other way. Rook h5. And you hit two things. And the game is over. The game is over because after queen takes queen, you have check. The king moves. You have check. And then you have this. And you emerge upper rook. Now, I must say, black has 5 pawns. I must say black has 5 pawns. Like if this was a submission by a subscriber, this was like a subscriber game, there's like a 50% chance black wins this game. Below the level of 1,000, there's like a 75% chance black wins this game because pawns are scary in endgames. And people just don't know how to stop past pawns. They just freak. Listen, admit it. You've done this before. Your pawns just go running and you're like, what the hell? How did that happen? My opponent had 5 pawns, now they have 5 queens. So that's the idea. Rook e5 is just the winning move, but Bogdan plays check. And what he does here is he finds a way to play rook e6, first of all, which is a nice move. Can't take because I take your king. Can't take because I take your queen. And he trades the queens. He trades the queens. So now he has 2 rooks versus rook and horse. And he's down 2 pawns, but he's got activity. The problem is, it's just simply not enough. And Anish has counterplay with the pawns. That's it. I mean, just like the way I said counterplay with the pawns is important at 1,000 level, counterplay with pawns is important at the Super GM level. So there you go, 1,000s watching. You are not too different than Super GMs. The pawns go. And the funny thing is, it looks like white is winning a knight, but he's not. Because Anish just gives checks. If the king gets too close, then I guard my knight from the other side. And by the way, I might even win this game if you're not careful. So if Bogdan plays the king to that side, he cannot escape this way, because that is how, folks, you blunder checkmate. So it's just the cage, and you cannot move your king to a square that's covered by a pinned piece. It's weird, but so the players end up shuffling back and forth, and this is the kind of draw that we want, okay? Anish Giri taking calculated risk. The game is total insanity, opposite side castling, exploding weaknesses of kings, a beautiful missed win in the middle of it, and when the dust settles at the end of the day, it is a draw. I have standings for you. Now, this is not intended to insult your intelligence. I just showed you 5 draws. So obviously we have a 10-way tie for first. This is in no particular order whatsoever, although probably the order should be by how exciting your game was. So MVL should not be at the bottom, but this is just the way the ranking on chess.com pulled it up. This tournament, if there are 10 rounds and all the players have to play each other one time, I'm sorry, if there's 10 players and they all have to play each other every single time, how many rounds are we going to get? 9 rounds, right? Yes, because you cannot play against yourself. That would be very impressive. So we're going to have 9 rounds of this tournament. I believe there's 10 players, and yeah. I don't really know how to sign off, but thanks for watching, and hopefully we have more exciting games, or else I'm boycotting making recaps of this thing. But I'm going to try to make 2 videos every single day. So, folks, you made it this far in the video. Let me know who you want to win this thing. Let me know who you're cheering for, and I'll see you in the next one.